Glenfast Games. I'm the titular Glenfast, and welcome back to the fascinating or not so fascinating world at times of Might and Magic Book 1, The Secrets of the Inner Sanctum. I've done a few narrated gameplay videos of this very game a couple of months ago, and then summer happened and this project kind of got onto the back burner. But now I'm back. This is probably the last narrated video where I'm playing this game. It has to be said that I have no idea if anybody is actually watching these or what's the point of this whole challenge of trying to play or playing this game to its completion at this day and age. But, well, we do what we do, and it seems that I got nothing better to do at the time, or at the moment, so let's get on with it. I'm not sure that I will be narrating this whole video completely, because if you've watched or listened to the previous parts, or previous narrated parts, should I say, I've kind of touched on pretty much everything that this game in a way has to offer, its quirks and its weird things, and, well, also the things that it gets right, to be honest. It's not. When I started this whole project, or this challenge as I'd like to call it, I have to say I was quite dubious on what to expect, how long I would be playing this game for, and what is even going on, or would I be interested enough to play more than a couple of hours. But I'm kind of dedicated now to playing the game through to its completion, and this video I would hazard a guess that I'm on the, well, not maybe on the end stretch, but pretty well going towards the end. I have more gameplay already recorded after this video, which I probably won't be narrating, I'm not sure yet. But I think at the start of this video my party was around level 5 or 6, and they're starting to get some proper spells, which makes the gameplay much easier. You get spells which effectively lets you teleport all across the map. Like I've touched on the previous narrated videos, I'm kind of mostly playing this blind. I haven't followed any guides except for maybe some tips and tricks on making your life a bit easier. It's not a game that holds your hand by any stretch of the imagination, like I've said before, like many games of this era do. But just to save some of my nerves, I've had some tips on how to effectively level up your party and effectively do this and do that, get some equipment and that sort of thing. But apart from that, I've been spending a lot of time mapping. There's, as you would guess from a game of this age, was it 86 or something like that, 1986, there's no auto map, of course, there's no auto map, and to comparing to some other games of this type from the similar era, this game is actually huge. It's the outdoor map is big. It's very maze-like. There's like a plethora of secret passages and secret doors you have to kind of try to walk through every wall you'll find in the game to actually get somewhere, or to find the things that really matter or are important. And mapping this game has definitely taken the longest time. of all the, it has been the most tedious thing in this whole playthrough. But me being me, I actually do like that sort of thing. It is nostalgic. It brings to my mind like the days before the internet where we had to do this kind of thing anyway, or then you bought a magazine or something like that where you had maps drawn by some other person playing this game, or playing the game, whichever game in question that would be. But once you get a hold of the mapping, and once you start to get an idea of how the Outworld works, there's different zones in the Outworld. There's a desert, and there's a swamp, and there's forests and mountains and this and that. They all work a bit differently. They have their own quirks. For example, in the desert, you actually need a special item, a map of the desert, to kind of survive there or not to get completely lost. These videos don't contain all of the gameplay regarding the mapping, because that is really tedious. Well, the gameplay videos for this game are pretty stupid to start with, of course, but that is even more tedious than watching all the combats and all that. But once you get your map somewhere, and or you get it going, and you get an idea of the Outworld, which is comprised of like 5 times 5, I think, of kind of like big squares, each of which is maybe 20 or 16, I can't remember now, I don't have my notes next to me, but something like that, like 20 by 20 or 16 by 16 grid, like, so it's like 25 times that, and that's the Outworld alone. And then there's the castles, one of which you can see right now. There's dungeons, there's all sorts of things. Dungeons may contain multiple levels, usually not too many, but at least like 2, 3. The castles contain these lords, which give you quests. Now, I can't remember if I talked about the quests a lot during the last narrated video, probably not that much, but it seems to me that all of these, there's like 3 castles and 1 which I haven't been able to enter. I know now why, probably, but the lords in those 3 castles give you quests which I'm pretty sure are completely optional. At least most of them are. I think all of them are. But they give you a ton of experience, and that helps a lot. And of course, doing some of those quests, you get like lots of money and experience and equipment and all that. So it is advisable to do at least some of those quests, especially as some of them are dead easy. The first kind of like quest line, if you could call it that, comprises of you just bringing that lord different sorts of spices and things from around the world, from the cities that are around the world, and you can get those cities easily enough, either with a teleport from the first city you start the game in. It's behind a secret door or secret wall, but anyway, it's easy enough to find. And then, like I mentioned before at the start of this video, around these levels, level 6 or something like that, you get spells like every second level. So level 1, level 3, level 5, level 7, I think, or level 5, you get the fly spell, which instantly lets you effectively teleport to any of those 5 or 25 like big map squares. There's certain defined points where you then like fly to, and once you get hold of this, the gameplay becomes much less tedious, because walking around in this game is definitely one of the most like time-consuming and oftentimes dangerous things that you can do, apart from trying to clear dungeons. because the encounters might be deadly, especially on the lower levels. Around this time, I found that most of the outdoor encounters, except for some especially dangerous areas, I've noticed that there are things like that, like markedly more dangerous areas on the Outworld map. But in general, like going between the cities and all that, trying to find the next dungeon to go to, it's getting much easier once you get past like level 5 or 6, because then, well, almost like in all old games of this sort or old CRPGs of this sort, once you get the certain spells, like area attack spells like Fireball or Lightning Bolt, it's like lots of the combat becomes quite trivial, especially outdoors. So the game becomes easier, not necessarily more interesting, let that be said, because some of the charm of this game and games of this ilk, definitely for me at least, comes from the fact that starting the game can be quite brutal, is quite brutal, and it's a mainstay in almost all of these old CRPGs, and it feels like a challenge to get started, to get your guys to stay alive at the beginning of the game, trying to find out what you're supposed to be doing, trying to get at least some experience, some gold, to get better equipment, and you actually can feel the progression that way, like it's palpable. But then when you get past a certain point, much of the combat like this, like against these kinds of things like battle rats and jackals and strangling vines, becomes like completely pointless. You might as well be asleep pushing one button and whatever it is. But it's the nature of these things, and once you get to the more difficult dungeons, of course, then there's again an element of risk. As the monsters start using special abilities, they put your guys to sleep and they do this and they do that. But the game becomes more tedious in a different way. In the beginning it was tedious, it was dangerous to go around, every combat could be potentially deadly. But later on, at this stage, it becomes like a kind of a bore fest at times. But of course the teleport things and other spells and better equipment helps. At some point, all of the equipment you can basically buy at the blacksmiths, they become redundant. All of the better equipment you're gonna find are from combat or from dungeons. But yeah, it's your standard fare in CRPGs, especially old CRPGs. But then again, at this point, when you start getting hold of actually the main quest, which takes some levels to actually start to do properly, because it is fairly dangerous from the get-go. There's an interesting element in there and some quite unique elements. Well, it's an old game, and obviously pretty much everybody knows what the twist in Might and Magic is, even beginning from the first game already, because there is a twist. But back in the 80s and even in the 90s, I didn't know it from the start, obviously not. And it is a fun one, I have to admit. The main quest is centered around, they don't actually explain you a lot. In the first city, Sorpigal, there's this row of statues. I think there's like 8 statues or 9, one of them might be secret, I can't remember anymore, which kind of give you an outline. There's these explanations or plaques next to the statues which tell you bits and pieces of a story or some legend or things like that from this world of Vaughn, Vaughan, however you're gonna pronounce that, I have no idea. Varn. But you can piece together something from there. There's some hints about a wizard, for example, called Ranalu, who lives in a cave near another city, and you can go there and he or she will tell you more things. But the main quest itself is, or has been up to this point, fairly simple in execution, or really simple in execution, but not too easy to do. And it's been basically just a kind of fetch quest. From the first city, you get a hint that, or the dungeon below the first city, there's a wizard who gives you something, a scroll or something, to bring to another guy, an elf I think it was, in another city. But the problem being, already the first kind of step to that quest, the other city is the City of Dusk, which is almost impossible to get to unless you find out the secret portal which you can use to get to every city basically in the game, which is in the first city, or you get the map to the desert. And I think the desert map, I can't even remember where you get it from. There's millions of places in the Outworld which you kind of have to either find randomly, or you get some very obscure clues also in seemingly random places in dungeons, basically, which tell you to go to this and this coordinate location. There's a spell in the game which gives you the coordinate. Of course, you can, if you're using graph paper to map this game, which is basically a necessity. It even says so in the manual. If you read the manual, you can just count out the coordinates from the graph paper. But there's all sorts of hints pointing you towards locations, and you might find more hints from those locations, or then you might find a quest which gives you another location where you need to go. And I'm fairly certain, I can't remember correctly, but I'm fairly certain that the map of the desert was one quest reward from a kind of random quest where I found a lord or some such. I think he was exiled, and then he just told me that go here or there. Or then it might have been one of the castle lords who told me to find out what happened to this and that other lord. And the desert map was a reward from then finding. And basically that was pretty much every quest that I've found in this game thus far, and I think it's gonna be like that through the end because of the age of the game, has been get a hint, go to the hint points you to this place, from that place maybe get a hint to another place, and the gameplay basically consists of you trying to get from that place A to that place B, or then to place C and whatnot. And I'm not quite sure which of those quests have been mandatory and which have been not. But if you don't have a hint book, or if you don't have a guide or somebody to tell you what to do, it's a lot of game time to basically more or less randomly stumble on your way across the whole world map, outdoor map, and then the dungeons on top of that, which I even haven't been visiting that much because they're quite annoying. There's traps and there's teleport traps and there's this and there's that, and they're quite deadly even if I've gained a couple of levels. Of course, I think that I need to go to explore more of them even later on in the game. But in the end, the second part, or the second step of the main quest, you go to this town of Dusk in the middle of the desert, and then there's this other guy, you give the scroll to him or her, and then that guy directs you to find a pair of twins in other towns, and no other clues. You just have to kind of scour the towns, if I remember correctly, square by square, until you find those guys. And then they give you a hint, which is kind of obviously another coordinate. So one of them gives you another half of those coordinates, and one of them gives you another half of those coordinates. And then you get to that coordinate and you find something else. I think I found a key. I can't remember what I found actually. I'm not even sure if it's in this video, because now I'm at the mountain peak, and it kind of shows you a hint of what's this on the southern parts of the map, and there is actually a quest from one lord which tells you to get to this peak. I think it was Blythe Peak it was called, and the peak itself is nothing really special. It just gives you a hint that if you go west you'll find this, and if you go south you'll find that, and I'm not sure. I think all of those places are connected to some other quests, optional quests that the lords give, or I'm not sure if they are optional yet, but I have a distinct feeling that they are, because from some quest or the other, like after finding the twins, which, like I said, might or might not be in this video, might be on the next one, which I'm probably not going to be narrating anyway. After that, from that location they gave me, I'm pretty sure I found a key, and there was a diamond key which I got from somewhere, and then there was a diamond door somewhere in the Outworld map which I just passed through, like mapping the place. And I did go through that diamond door, and then I got teleported to some really, really weird and really, really deadly place, which, that it was quite obvious that I wasn't supposed to be there yet. But maybe that's some sort of endgame dungeon, I don't know, remains to be seen. But there is this other, I'm still not quite sure what the real objective of this game is, but there is another quite interesting thing, which is that twist, and we'll be getting to that in this video for sure, I think. As I said before, I've said like most of the things about this game that I really even want to say, apart from the story and how it ends and whatnot, because I don't know all the details yet anyway. But I maybe be touching on them on some later video, but I won't be narrating this whole gameplay video. If you want to skip the next narration, it's around like 35 minutes. This is not the part. I'm doing those spice gathering quests. I've bought all the spices from every town that I've been in because you can just buy them from the different town shops. And after I knew that I gotta give him the first one, I kind of guessed that because they don't cost anything. I kind of guessed that that's gonna be how it goes for these quests. And thus I was prepared in advance, and it's a nice bit of experience. But like said, these quests are really simple, really simplistic, and the Lord doesn't give you any clues on to why he's gonna need wolfsbane or belladonna or whatever he's gonna be needing. And I think all of the other quests I've seen have been like, go to this and this place and then return back to me. Like, go to that mountaintop peak, Blythe Peak, and return back. But it is what it is. Now I'm exiting dusk and I'm in the desert. I'm not sure because I definitely haven't recorded all of the gameplay that I've been playing because, well, even these videos are too long, and even on these videos it's like very, very, very tedious for most of the time. It's just like for some weird reason of completeness sake for my mind that I'm actually doing this. But I'm not sure if I have the desert map yet. I think I do, because I kind of struggled around without the map for a while, for hours and hours, until I gave up, and then I got the map from somewhere else. And but still, the desert is a pain to navigate through or to try to, well, map and navigate. And I've drawn most of the map for the desert before I recorded this bits of the video, because that took such a long time. There's a spell, like I said before, which gives you your coordinates, and to actually map the desert you just have to cast that like all the time, almost every single move, because when you're in the middle of the desert, same as when you're in the middle of the ocean or any water area, which you need like a water walking spell to do that. It was a bit earlier in this video actually, near that Blythe Peak thing. You can't really see where you are, or you can't really even see that you're moving. So in order to find out where you are, you need to be really diligent with your graph paper map and use those coordination location spells a lot. But now we're getting to the twist. It was quite tedious to get here, but the twist is there's aliens. And I think you could like botch this, but there's aliens and they had a prisoner, and that prisoner is disguised as a noble. And I haven't still found out what that really means, but there are these castles. I found 3 of them, I think. I found some ruined ones, which maybe have some connection to the story, or then they don't. But as it goes, there's definitely places in the map where I can't still go to because I need a password or I need a key that I don't have. There are places which are obviously overpowered for me to go into as well. At the end of this video, I found a key to one door which I have been passing by on the world map, like in a random point, as they all seem to be. And that key was beyond a riddle, which was easy enough to guess though, after a few tries. but that place, the key opened, it was the diamond key, which opened kind of a diamond door, and the place beyond that door was so both complicated and deadly that I'm kind of sure that if it's not an optional area, it's some endgame area where I'm definitely not supposed to be in yet, even if I'm starting to get my levels up slowly but surely. But the main quest, now I remember those twins, like the third step of the main quest of the dawn. Then you have to go to the two of the remaining cities, Portsmouth and some other, which was in the swamp, with some very nasty creatures as well around it. And once I found their clue, that gave me a key or some similar thing to another place which I haven't visited yet. Another dungeon, basically. So that's gonna be like step 4 of the main quest. I don't know how many steps there are, but I'm hoping that that kind of it's been straightforward enough with the main quest as of now, like to step 4, and all the optional content has been, or seemingly optional content has been, more random and behind more secret doors and behind this and behind that, and in some faraway places on the world map. And I'm still not sure if the aliens are parts of the main quest. I'm pretty sure they am, but might be something different then. But I think, as I've said enough about this game, and if you for some reason have listened to me rambling on about it and watched me playing it this far, then you will notice that on gameplay issues and mechanical issues and design issues, there's not much more to say anymore. You've seen pretty much it all, except for maybe the more difficult dungeons, which will be in some other video in the future, because I am gonna chronicle this whole thing now that I've come this far, just for my own sake, if nothing else. But in the last video, I will do a narrated kind of, well, not walkthrough, but a kind of, I'll give some ideas when I get to the end, that how it was, and did it seem meaningful, and how does it maybe compare to some other old games I've been playing over the years. And well, more rambling, but that's gonna take me some time yet, and there's at least one gameplay video already recorded, which I need to just edit and upload after this one, so that's gonna be up quite soon. But if you're still here, thanks for joining and thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. And please like and subscribe if you're that way inclined, and have a great rest of the summer and go play some old CRPGs. Bye bye.